Hello lovelies, today we're taking a collective look at the Weird Crushers, the Fantasmic, the Insidious experiments of Dr. Bubbles, Eat the Rich, the Floating Tower from Atlantis, and Black of Night, which is last for a reason. So what these are the Lamentations of the Flame Princess description and catalogue of products. And what Jim Reggie does is that he also adds some useful content to the catalogues, which encourages people to take them home and to keep them and to use them, and also provides a practical example, which may or may not be wise, of exactly what you can expect from a Lamentations of the Flame Princess product. So I don't know whether that gains him sales or loses him sales, but at least it's honest and upfront. So each of these is a different thing. Some are adventures, sort of. Some are locations, sort of. Some are both, sort of. And one is some spells. So the Fantasmic sounds like an adventure, but is actually a list of several horrible, nasty spells that do horrible, nasty things to people and can go awry in various ways. The spells are all laid out in the same way that they are in Vaginas and Magic. And like a lot of magic in Lamentations, the Flame Princess, it has massive drawbacks. But it does give you a sense of what Lamentations is like, what magic in Lamentations is like, and obviously these are easily portable to other old school RPGs. Yeah, and it's the same basis for all of these. They're all short and sweet, but good for all that. And you will get one of these. When you make an order, you'll get two if your order is over a certain size, and so on. So these are collectible as well. Never misses a trick. The Insidious experiments of Dr. Bubbles is more of a location, really. You can tuck in Dr. Bubbles' sort of laboratory wherever you want, above some shops, in a corner of a dungeon, or whatever. Basically, he is an awakened goldfish in a mechanical body, who also happens to be a very, very powerful magician, and is generally up to no good, as you might expect. Any magician in Lamentations of the Flame Princess, but particularly an awakened goldfish who might be harbouring a grudge about the fact that he's an awakened goldfish. So that's pretty much that. You can drop that in just about anywhere. Eat the Rich is more of an event, really. It's a big dinner at a country villa, but things are not as we might suspect. It's not so much eat the rich as the rich eating each other. This is laid out more in the kind of way that we used to lay out LARPs, in that you have a context in which people arrive and can then soft roleplay and so on, and then at certain time intervals things then happen. But suffice to say, there's a reason for cannibalism and the slurping up of spinal fluid, and that's all present and accounted for here. Not too sure about the map. Doesn't look quite right to the 17th century historical accuracy to which we've become accustomed. But apart from that, all looks very nice there. Perhaps that won't suit a lot of Lamentations groups, because it, like I say, it's more of a LARP type event in a lot of ways. There'd be a lot of soft roleplay, and the games master's going to have to roleplay the other characters around the table as they eat their dinner, and then things go awry. So it's still good. It's more to my sort of taste, so I don't think it's not to anyone's taste, but it might be a little bit outside of the comfort zone for some groups that are more into the old school dungeon bash. The floating tower from Atlantis is an encounter location. Basically, this is a bit longer than the others. It's a proper little booklet, and yeah, it's a proper location, and it has various oddities. This is probably the most traditional, peculiar, weird location sort of adventure loot that one might expect from Lamentations, but it's very easy to just drop in whenever your characters are having some sort of sea journey. You can just have this appear and have them encounter it and the weird and wonderful stuff within. This one's the closest to a full-on adventure. You know, I wouldn't mind more odd ideas at this sort of scale sold. I think I would prefer these sort of slightly lower production value drop-in elements to some of the bigger adventure books in a lot of ways. But I know quality is very much a thing for Lamentations, so, and my taste is not everyone's taste, but I quite like these small drop-in things. I like them a lot, in fact. So, right, and lastly we have Black of Night, which stirred up a certain amount of controversy. Why does it stir up a certain amount of controversy? Well, it's basically Green Inferno or Cannibal Holocaust, the adventure. And so it has seen some accusations of racism and so on, and it also explicitly contains struggle cuddles as well. Struggle cuddles, cannibalism, and racism. So here's the inconvenient truth. There are cannibal tribes, or have been cannibal tribes, in various locations around the world at one point or another, and even relatively civilized and, relatively speaking, modern areas have resorted to cannibalism in times of great strife and issue. And sometimes this has become a religious sacrament. And that's why exploitation directors and horror directors have been so attracted to these themes in the past. You know, cannibalism is a big taboo for obvious reasons. See, I don't... Right, it's a stereotype, but I think you should be able to explore it, and I don't think it is necessarily racist simply by virtue of the fact that these things are and were a historical reality. And here, at least, there's, generally speaking, some sort of excuse in the fantasy milieu for these sorts of things going on. But maybe I'm just pissed off because I did a very similar but modern horror setting called Black Mass, and nobody kicked up a stink over it. So yeah, maybe I'm just a little bit jelly that got my controversy on your game, you bastards. So these are essentially free, so I don't know that there's much point doing a score for them or anything. You know, if you order stuff from Lamentations above certain value brackets, you will get some of these. They're short and sweet and to the point, and I really like them for that. So if you do get hold of them, yeah, I think they're pretty damn good. If I were to order them and how much I like them, I think Black of Night would be my top one. Then probably Eat the Rich, though it's not to everybody's particular taste. Then I would go The Floating Tower from Atlantis. That would be my next favourite. Then The Fantasmic Syy, and last Dr. Bubbles, which is just too goofy for how I would want to play Lamentations. Your mileage may, of course, vary. Zang.
Hi, I'm Skip Breakfast, and you're watching Newsload. We're getting reports of a new card game which purports to make fun of the political and social hellscape in which we find ourselves, somehow turning this into a fun pastime for groups of slightly drunken friends to try and outdo each other. But there's one important question on everyone's lips: just how exactly do you play?